Whoa, it's the See You Podcast.
Yeah, we're both wearing Bloodsport shirts, and this is the CU Podcast, number 145 for
We did not plan this.
Tuesday, January 29, 2019. That's Ian Ferguson. In the Bloodsport shirt that he owns, and I do too, except the shirt's lost in Ian's place somewhere. But
Time.
I'm Pat Contry, and this is Thomas's Bloodsport shirt with a nice
Tom's
iconic...
bought you 2 Bloodsport shirts now, and you have one.
I have one of the two, 50% ratio of getting Bloodsport shirts. We'll be talking about Metroid Prime 4 getting rebooted, Valve complaining about capitalism, Zelda Doom Total Conversion, which is cute, Kingdom Hearts 3, PS4 system, GameStop cancellations, your Q&A. Ian, I've been on an Unsolved Mysteries kick.
Yeah.
I should have been for the past 30 years since I grew up with Unsolved Mysteries. I remember watching like the first season of it. And I don't know how. It used to be on Wednesday nights. It used to be on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. My bedtime was 9 p.m. when I was 7 or 8, which is probably reasonable for an 8-year-old, right? And then I was scared out of my fucking mind because of the creepy... one of the best theme songs ever.
Oh, yeah.
For a TV show.
Absolutely.
Go look it up. You'll it's still scary. And then Robert Stack...
update.
Update. But this like smoky Robert Stack in his awesome trench coats, walking around some fucking weird Masonic temple place, telling you about murders and ghost stories and crimes and lost loves and twins separated at birth, and it wasn't just all murder and kidnapping shit. It was everything. Alien abductions. I think they eventually got rid of that stuff because Robert Stack said this is horse shit and got rid of it. But anyway, so I've been on a kick lately, and because they're bringing it back to Netflix. And like 2 days later, they mentioned Unsolved Mysteries on fucking SportsCenter.
So is it on Netflix?
It's it's actually on Amazon Prime.
Okay, that's where Vonnie and I watched it a few years ago. We went through like 5 seasons of it.
But they're not like the actual seasons. When you watch them, because even the first episode has updates to past ones, I think they've cut out ones and truncated things and gotten rid of some ones.
They seem to fall into a regular order, but those beginning ones, I don't think...
It's weird.
There's definitely something...
Well, I think originally there were specials that Robert Stack wasn't hosting, so maybe that's part of the...
I think that's just it, yeah.
They update
because they
those
do
ones.
seem to go in chronological order after like the first 3.
Sure. So it's a little shaky at first, but yeah, Unsolved Mysteries, I love Robert Stack.
Yeah, I always... like I said, we were obsessed with it for a while. I always got really uncomfortable around the
update music is creepy.
Oh, no.
As a kid, I got freaked out.
I'm talking about the stories of like people trying to find like their lost parents or their lost kids. It was the lost kids ones that bothered me more.
Really? That bothered you? From like the kids that are abandoned like in the 40s?
Well, that's fine, but it's like you gave your kid up for adoption and now you're going to go seek it out. That's traumatizing. Like, that's a weird one.
It's not traumatizing. You want to reconnect when you're an adult. What's wrong with that?
I mean, your kid should have the say in that, not the adult.
So if you're a 30-year-old and I'm a 6-year-old parent, I can't seek you out?
I mean, it just seems odd. It's not so much that it's odd, it's that they did it all on TV for reaction, and it's like, there are a couple episodes where they talk about it, and they're like, yeah, that didn't go well, and it's like, I don't want to do the deal.
Life is messy.
I just feel like that doesn't need to be shown.
Relationships are messy.
It's very awkward.
A lot of times, though, they're like crying, and like, and sometimes they honestly, they lose track.
Yeah.
They give it up because of the hardship, and they don't know what happened because the records were bad, 60, 70 years ago.
I guess of all the things, that was just the one that I think I had the most trouble watching live.
The ones that bothered me were any ones where they show a composite sketch, because those creep me out to this day. The pencil sketches of criminals, they just, for some reason, those like burn into my head, those images of those killers. Whenever they used to do it, like the Zodiac, or W.B. Cooper, which was an early Unsolved Mysteries episode, he was a hijacker, plane hijacker. That freaked me out. They just freaked me out. But anyway, Unsolved Mysteries is great. Speaking of creepy, Ian, you want to talk about the Ted Bundy confession tapes? Netflix
we
4-part documentary.
Those. Holy shit! Yeah.
Or you watched them. You didn't listen to the actual tapes, so you watched them.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have the little cassettes.
Yeah, I don't have my own souvenir set.
Fucking sociopath.
So yeah, that was wild. Learned a lot of things. I knew a lot. I have that problematic habit that I think some of us have, where late at night when you can't go to bed, you just start learning about serial killers.
Yeah, it's always healthy.
Yeah. So I knew quite a bit about...
When you start hearing stuff, you're like, what the fuck? Around your house.
I knew quite a bit about Ted Bundy going into it, but it's his... listening to his demeanor and his talking and seeing, like, I've mostly read about him, seeing him act, like, in court, it's terrifying. I mean,
he's a definition of a sociopath.
Yeah,
the definition.
Exactly. You know, he
acts like a normal person, but he's also
totally aloof from everything too.
Yeah,
you can tell it's only partially. You can tell it's an act. There are parts where you can see that act unraveling.
When he gets angry, when he hit the thing down in front of the judge, like you saw the anger come out. It's like, oh yeah, that's a guy that killed at least 30 people. 30 women. Yeah.
So I was unaware of. I did not know about his, or if I did, the knowledge of it got pushed to the wayside. His champion, his family, I was not aware of.
Oh, his groupie wife that became his wife. Yeah.
Yep. Didn't know about.
Oh, there was women in the courtroom that were watching, enamored with them.
Yeah, and they didn't want to say they were, but they couldn't even explain why. I think the thing that got me though was, obviously, Ted Bundy is awful, and I learned new things. I wanted to watch it, but the end of the show, spoilers, of course, the last episode where they show everyone like gathering around outside the prison and cheering and selling fucking shirts and stuff, that got fucking disturbing too.
And that was one of Ted Bundy's truths where he said that's disturbing. Like, that's more horrifying that they're doing that. And it's like, yeah, you're actually right that you have these people outside celebrating some frat boys, people selling shirts saying like burn Ted burn, celebrating
Tuesday is Friday. Yeah.
Yes, celebrating someone's execution. And that stuff still happens. There's not as many executions that are publicized as much as that, because Ted Bundy is the most famous serial killer in our history for a reason. He was one of the first ones that people knew about, because before that there was like, what's a serial killer? They said in the documentary that it wasn't really a thing that people knew about or publicized like that. Then the 60s and 70s came, and all of a sudden you had Zodiac Killer, Son of Sam, you had John Wayne Gacy, you had a bunch that just got thrown in the public, knowledge. But yeah, that was terrifying to me.
And the last thing that I did that I just thought was interesting, because I've watched a lot of Forensic Files, as have you, and all that.
Oh yes.
I did not know he was the first case to use bite mark,
which they said
is bullshit.
Which they said it's not good, but it helped convict them.
But I have no doubt,
because they didn't have DNA yet. DNA didn't get really big until like the mid '80s.
Yeah, you were talking like when they were discussing instead of blood type, DNA, they were talking about, it was the same blood type as the woman who went missing, or something like that. But yeah, the teeth thing, I had always heard that it was bullshit, and when they bring it up on like Forensic Files, I'm like, I don't think that's admissible anymore. And they mention that it's not admissible, or I don't think it's considered junk science. Yeah,
it shows how unprepared the police were, the FBI. No one was talking to each other. They didn't have databases on computers that they can cross-reference criminals. It was all just looking at papers and shit. So then, of course, I knew about his escapes, but Jesus Christ, let him escape twice is insane. And then, unfortunately, after the second escape, he killed 3 more women. Yeah, and injured 2 others. So it's like, fuck, like, that's insane. Where he was unraveling, obviously, at that point, where he couldn't even like control anymore, the killing urges.
I did know about him talking in the third person, essentially, to describe like, oh well, I won't tell you what I did, but I'll hypothetically tell you what
this person will just say, it's really disturbing.
I had always known about that, but to hear him do it and talk that way, it was very weird, because he's very specific. There's no shred of doubt in his mind that he's just talking about what he's doing, but that fucking stupid little loophole. Well, I can tell you what I think a person like that would do. And they said,
well, it's like the OJ book. Yeah. If I had done it, this is how I would have done it.
And of course, he does admit to killings before he's executed.
Yeah, the day before.
The day before, he admits to him,
thinking that would save him, but no.
But wherever I was going with that, crazy show.
The whole thing is nuts.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. He admitted then, but he never once, according to the guy who was taping him, never once slipped up and admitted.
Yes, guilt even while he never said I did this. He said, well, this person might have done this. Maybe this person, did this and that in graphic detail. And it's like, oh, okay. Imagine you're the interviewer listening to this. You're like, oh, this is fun. Yeah, and that's your job, but that's.
I think the part that got me the most was when he made the police officer recount the details of everything.
Oh, on trial?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was bad. Because like there's no real reason to go through to that detail again. And they even said like he wanted to hear it
Yeah.
Because he was his own lawyer. Because the guy was obviously very intelligent. He was going to law school. He was.
Well, even that judge was charmed by him.
I wouldn't say charmed as much as he was. I wouldn't call him charmed. He knew that this was a person that went off the deep end. Obviously,
sure.
He did say though you went in the wrong direction at the end, like when he was sentencing him. For the, he's like, yeah, you would have been a good lawyer. He would have been a good lawyer. The guy was very smart, obviously, to do that for so long and get away with it. He escaped twice from custody, and he was a sociopath. So yeah, well, check out the Ted Bundy tapes if you don't want to be able to sleep at night. Do that. Ian, you want to mention the Terry Crews things because you were in the mentions of Terry Crews.
So which one did you find me in? It was about the toxic masculinity stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
So Terry Crews.
Yeah.
Terry Crews has come out, and spoken about sexual assault and toxic masculinity, because Terry Crews was molested by a Hollywood agent at a Hollywood party in front of his wife and other people.
Yeah.
This guy came up and just grabbed his junk in front of people. He didn't know how to react. So D.L. Hughley, the comedian, called out Terry Crews saying, yeah, I should have slapped the shit out of him. And it's like, well, that wouldn't have been good because I would have gotten arrested and blackballed from Hollywood and I wouldn't be able to speak out upon this today. That would have been the worst possible reaction. And Terry Crews seems like the reason everyone loves Terry Crews is that he's very for being the fucking jacked up.
He's a gentle giant.
He's like the nicest guy in the world. Like he really is. Like
right.
He's just a nice guy. And even though he played football, he's obviously he's in the Expendable movies and everything. He's not the model of a guy that you would picture coming out talking about sexual assault, which is why it's important. Because he's even a person someone that we mutually know, I won't say, when they're talking about, well, why don't, this is at a convention, he's like, well, I don't understand these, and people don't honestly understand how some women don't come out and talk about sexual assault. I said, listen, and I said to this person, you're like a tough guy who can take care of yourself, and picture someone else feeling shame that they can't come out and talk about these things. But you can at least, at how big you are, put up a fight. If you're a 100-pound woman, first of all, you can't put up a fight against someone who weighs 100 pounds more for you. It's impossible. You're not going to be able to defend yourself. So then you have this fear, this feeling of fear to begin with, and then you feel shame that you couldn't do anything about it. So at least if you're a man, I understand that you won't be able to not be able to come forward or talk to someone about it, but that's why, because you're a man, you're strong, you at least you can't picture yourself, oh, I can never do that. But for a woman, that's a potential that's much more likely. So that's why people were like, wow, Terry Crews is speaking about this, because no one can picture someone like Terry Crews being able to be sexually assaulted by someone and not and being ashamed of it on top of that, because he's like 250 pounds of muscle, like 6'4". Right. So that's why people are like, well, this is important. This guy speaking out. And he spoke out in front of Congress. He spoke about it.
Right, exactly. And I don't know, it's disheartening. I think the reason I got into that one thread was, if it's the one, I've been in a couple threads with Crews lately.
And your thread was defining masculinity versus toxic masculinity.
Oh, yeah. So it was something that I had found once that I thought was good. It wasn't mine, but it's a screenshot from Tumblr, and it's, people immediately, as soon as you start talking about toxic masculinity, there's a lot of people who immediately have this knee-jerk reaction. We see it all the time online. And the easiest way to describe it, and like I said, I'm lifting this, but is a burger is a burger. A cheeseburger is a burger with cheese.
Sure.
Not saying that all burgers have cheese. Masculinity is masculinity. Toxic masculinity is a type of masculinity.
So I think a lot of people that when they hear toxic masculinity, they say that you're attacking masculinity itself, and that's not the point of it. Right. It's that masculinity is the same thing with femininity. There's very positive attributes that we associate with it, but the toxic part of it is when the bad parts get put into overdrive and then bad shit comes out. It's like bullying. Like for me, bullying is one of my biggest pet peeves in life, because I was bullied, I saw other people bullied, and people associate that usually, oh, boys are being boys. They said that in that Gillette ad that people were pissed about. And you can make heads or tails of the motivation for that Gillette ad.
The motivation doesn't matter at this point, though. The message is just get it out there.
But the point is that there are parts of being a boy or a man, the bad parts that are glossed over. that, and I always go back to bullying, because at least when I was a child, bullying was seen as, oh, it's natural. Kids just fucking punch each other, make fun of each other, and it shouldn't be natural. It shouldn't be. Like even in my high school, you know, when boys picked on the other, there were some teachers that sort of like turned a blind eye to it. It's like, oh, whatever. It's just the jock pushing the kid into a locker. It's like, oh yeah, stop it, but not really having the kid get in trouble, not discouraged.
Right.
And that's toxic, because people get hurt, they get damaged, and that's what Ian was speaking to in that. I just thought it was interesting that Terry Crews, you know, D.L. Hewley's going after Terry Crews, and Terry Crews has to defend himself. A
lot of people go after him. There's a few people who have gone after him.
What's that guy who was I call him like the Black Alex Jones, Tariq Nasheed.
Tariq Nasheed.
It's fucking awful. You know, it's like,
and that's who he was fighting with, and that's the thing. Like, Terry was, you know, he comes out and discusses his experience. He comes out in support of women, and that's great. And people give him shit. Then, like, what got me into this again was, it was like 2 weeks ago, in response to a woman saying something about sexual harassment with females. The guy goes, yeah, so when can we talk about male sexual harassment? And immediately people were like, Terry Crews did try to talk about it, and you all shunned him. Yeah. So, and the guy had been negative on Terry Crews before, and it's like the only time they want to talk about it in a way where they're not making fun of it, it seems, is when guys can use it to distract from something else.
Yeah.
The it happens to us too thing is their go-to excuse when women talk about sexual harassment. But when a guy actually wants to talk about his sexual harassment, oh, you should have beat him up.
No one's saying men can't talk about their experiences. No one's saying that. Some men are probably just as ashamed, like Terry Crews was.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I don't want to talk about this. I feel like less of a man talking about this.
Well, that shit happens. You feel, I mean, you can feel questioned. I mean, I can understand that. You know, you don't necessarily want to talk about those things that happen to you, and in your head there's always that constant game you're going to play of, how did I let this happen? How is it my fault? That's the sort of stuff that goes through people's heads.
I had a situation where I was gaslighted. Ian knows about it. I haven't spoken about it publicly, where it was weird. Maybe one day I'll talk about it, you know?
Oh yeah.
Behind the scenes stuff that's ugly. Anyway, so let's talk about the Royal Rumble real quick.
Yeah, you can talk about it. I don't know nothing about it.
I watched parts of the Royal Rumble itself, highlights. I didn't watch the whole event. We'll just say right now WWE is in a weird spot, because they are looking to say, oh, we're looking to be different now and do something different, but for right now it's all just, I think, for show, but we'll see what happens. They had Finn Balor fight Lesnar for the they re-pushed Finn Balor finally after like 2.5 years and stuck in mid-card hell.
That's good.
He had a great showing against Lesnar, where Lesnar actually looked like he was hurt and going to lose. I know you don't like Lesnar, but when Lesnar actually what's the expression, shows ass for someone, like, it's good for that wrestler. So that was good. Lesnar obviously retained, but Balor's a big star. Like, he's back to like where he should have been always. Daniel Bryan is doing awesome work as the heel. His heel character is awesome. If you would have told me that Bryan would have came back within a year and been like, oh my God, Bryan's back, everyone loves him, to now he's a vilified heel, I would have said there's no way that's going to happen. But his vegan anti-consumerism, you guys are all destroying the earth and you got to pay attention, villain is great, because it's true. Everything he says is true, that you're all people distracted and not worrying about killing the earth by everything. It's fantastic heel work. Fantastic.
That also sounds like a throwback to like a 90s era character where...
sure, but you know, now that the earth is getting destroyed, like,
yes,
it makes sense, and so people are booing him. But like, it's like, well, what he's saying is true. And AJ Styles is just like, we're allowed to do whatever we want. And it's like, yeah, eat those hot dogs and, you know, burn up all the petrol and gas in your car and things like that. But it's great work, and they had a good match, obviously, but I think it was overshadowed by other things. Rousey loses to Saka for the not Rousey, excuse me. Becky Lynch loses to Saka for the SmackDown Women's Championship, which people predicted, and she lost cleanly because she entered the Rumble and won the Women's Rumble, which obviously everyone wanted her to win. And then Seth Rollins wins
Has
the
a penis.
wins the what?
Seth Rollins.
You don't like Seth Rollins?
No, I just said he has a penis.
Oh.
We talked about it once on the podcast.
Oh yes. Little Instagram trouble.
Yeah.
That was put on WWE's page because of the fees. They probably stopped it after that. Seth Rollins.
Wangarang.
Seth Rollins wins the men's rumble. Everyone sort of saw that coming. It was like, well, he's pretty much the front runner. If you had a bet, it would have been him. There wasn't so like unlike last year when Nakamura won and Asuka won last year. I call her Asuka won last year. People were kind of shocked that they had. I was shocked they had two Asians win. I just was. I was like, that's kind of surprising. Both didn't win the title though, but I was still surprised. But yeah, Seth Rollins wins. He's gonna fight Lesnar. He's gonna win. I mean, Seth Rollins is a fine choice. He's a great worker. He has put the company halfway on his back the past year, but Seth Rollins still is like 80% over. He's never been like the guy who was like, oh, you're rabidly wanted to like cheer for him. It's like, yeah, we like Seth Rollins. Sort of like how, you know what I mean?
I like Seth Rollins.
But you're not going to be like, oh, we got to see this match. Like, you're never like that for. I like Seth Rollins.
I might be in the minority, but I felt like it was easier. I felt like he was better as a heel, but also because he had people propping him up who could make it easier.
Like his ceiling, he's to me hit his ceiling already. Guys like Finn Balor have a higher ceiling that they never went with, that are I think more likable for the crowd. That, you know what I mean? Like not that Rollins is a bad face, he's a better heel. And that's the problem with some of these guys where they hit their, I'll say 80% ceiling, where yeah, he's fine, no one's complaining, but he's not like a huge star like Jericho or like The Rock. Meanwhile, what's now going to be the most anticipated match that should headline WrestleMania is Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
This has the makings of like one of the biggest main events that people outside of the hardcore audience, the casuals, want to watch. She shows up on Raw, Becky Lynch, where they even deflected, oh, she's going to make her decision on SmackDown who she's going to face. No, she comes out on Raw after Rousey in her first year has been an above average performer, below average on the mic.
Right.
Like way below average on the mic. She had one of the cringiest promos on Raw ever, especially for a champion. Like, she was lost. The crowd ate her alive. She even said, oh, you're making me stutter. And it's like, oh, God, you don't say this stuff. And because the crowd was chanting for Becky because they love Becky. Becky is the biggest star in the WWE right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's not even close.
What I've heard.
It's not even close.
This is good. She deserves
It's potentially all of wrestling. She's been fantastic.
Sick, yeah.
And they weirdly hedged their bets with her at first after the crowd saw, because they turned her heel. They expected the crowd to boo her. No, the crowd loved her.
Yeah.
She said, you're taking my spot, Charlotte. This is mine. And the crowd's like, yeah, because Becky, you've been doing nothing for like a year and a half. So yeah, they agreed.
She was one of those, it's hard to get it right, but it was one of those heels that's a face.
Yeah, she's a tweener. She's a Stone Cold.
Yeah, exactly.
She's a Stone Cold character. She absolutely is. And the crowd eats it up. Because they're like, holy shit, we haven't seen a woman wrestler like this ever. Like, just getting in men's face and talking shit to John Cena. It's like, this is like, wow. And it's authentic to them. So she comes out to Ronda Rousey after Rousey beats Bayley. And that wasn't a great match. It was an okay match. Because Rousey beat Sasha Banks clean last night. I think Sasha Banks is leaving. I think she's going to go to AEW or somewhere else. That's a whole other conversation. I don't think Sasha Banks is happy at all with how she's being used.
I'm not happy with how she's being used.
Because she's very good, and she hasn't been.
They squandered her moment where she could have
like
had
a year and a half ago.
Run. Yeah.
Let's hold the conversation. But Becky comes out, gets in Rousey's face, and Becky says, I'm going to humiliate you. I'm going to break your mystique. I'm going to take your title and kick your ass all calmly. And Rousey actually got really intense, and she's better being intense versus like the all shucks baby face like Bob Backlund, like, oh yeah, I just want to fight people, and because the crowd ain't buying it. The crowd turned on Rousey.
Yeah,
they turned on her. So but now you have someone they're really gonna boo, Rousey, and someone they're really gonna cheer, Becky, and there's gonna be some sort of double turn thing happen, I think, where Becky's gonna win, or if doesn't win, Rousey's gonna turn on her and cheat or do something like or do something vicious make her bleed like the Bret Hart Stone Cold thing that happened famously back. They're going to do something like that. It's going to be big.
Sure.
It's going to be big. Like, this is a match that I have not been excited to watch a WrestleMania match in forever.
Yeah.
And this is going to be very interesting.
This could be a good one.
Because, yeah. So anyway, so that's that. As we get our 25-minute intro. By the way, I want to apologize on behalf of Ian. This was I didn't realize how upset I can make the DOA Extreme fans out there who gotten my mentions and now they're showing all these scantily clad cartoon women in my mentions. They're saying, how dare you say someone's 14 years old? I want to say that wasn't me. That was Ian. Get your creepy shit out of my mentions.
I think a girl looks like she's 14. I'm going to say she looks like she's 14. Deal with it.
Okay, this I actually want to go through some of this. We don't usually respond on the podcast to tweets. I want to just walk through some of these real quick. I think it'll be fun.
Okay.
He doesn't have to get to work. There's no rush here. In my mentions, we're just gonna go through because Ian did it. You should have been tweeting Ian, not me. I didn't say anyone looked 14. I said it could be 18. I didn't say that at first. Let me go to my tweets here and I'll run through them. Do you remember calling one of the DOA Extreme girls 14?
The blonde girl. I said she looked like she's 14.
Which is an opinion, which is fine. You know, that's fine.
That character in specific has been
so
constantly
look. I see from this guy, Helena 14. This one, and shows the girl with her boobs.
That's not Helena. I mean, that's not who we were talking about. No, that doesn't look 14.
So someone else you said looked 14.
Yes.
Okay, but then it gets worse. This is from the at War on Fan Service. This is what thumbs down. This is why your channel still drives so much negativity, Pat and Ian, way before Diablo Immortal. You keep talking so arrogantly to things you don't fully understand, and why you even care about this device. It's not even made for the West. Helena is 21 years old, not 14. So I
wasn't talking about Helena.
Was it whatever? Wait. So people are now trying to defend themselves, liking these women that are 18 or 21. I don't care.
That's fine.
Like whatever the fuck you want. I just think it's creepy to have this in an arcade. That's all. With other people watching and children. That's all. One person brought up about it's good to smell you smell the beach with the VR scents and you smell everything. I'm like, yeah, that's why this game is going to be popular, because of the scents.
That's
all right. So I apologize to pass it, Ian. I don't want to see your creepy mentions anymore with showing me these girls. I don't care about it.
I'm trying to figure out the name of the one I was talking about. Hold on here.
And some do look underage. They do.
Give me 1 second.
It's
just one in particular. Just one in particular that I'm talking about, and that's what we were literally watching. Yeah, right here. Her name is... It's Marie Rose.
Yeah, she does look like 14 years old. I agree with Ian, so I'm not going to apologize. Some of these are creepy. Sorry, it's creepy. A little creepy to me. Just a little bit. I'm not judging you. Do whatever you want in your home. In the arcade, it's fucking creepy.
Yeah, she's 21.
No, she looks like she's 13 years old, that one. Yeah. I can confirm. I'll even say 13. So, yeah, it's fucking creepy. All right, let's get on with the show.